Hello and welcome to ET Garage. I'm Eugene Tordo. Today's video is about me finally getting to the transmission cooler lines. For those who haven't been following my channel or familiar, I do mostly work on my C4 and other projects. And a long time ago, I bought some pre-bent stainless steel transmission cooler lines from Classic Tube, and I never got around to installing them, and that's because they're so difficult to install with the way they're cramped in the C4 Corvette engine compartment. And I'm glad I waited, because like right now, if you look, I got my engine out. It's over there, and yeah, right over there. And even with the engine out and me lowering that transmission, I'll play a little video up here while I go through it. Even with me lowering that transmission, I probably should have lowered it even more. It was tough to get to those lines on the transmission side. It was also tough to get the transmission lines out from the way they wrap between the steering rack and this rail here. And this rail here can't be removed. It's a permanent part of the frame. And to where it hooks to the cooler in the radiator. Here, I will show you transmission lines that I took out. And even though they're serviceable, you can see they're getting surface rust and gunked up and stuff and beat up. And if, like I said, if you're not familiar with my channel, over time I've replaced like these fuel lines here are stainless steel pre-bent lines that I got from Classic Tube, and all the metal brake lines like that one there, and hopefully you can see these right here, all of them from front to back to the ABS and all that stuff are pre-bent stainless steel Classic Tube lines. So basically I just needed to change out the transmission lines, and here are the stainless steel ones right here. They are bent, pre-bent, just like the factory ones. The bad thing is, even with the motor out and me lowering the trans, I still have to bend these lines a little bit to get them up between the frame rail and the steering rack there. So if you take on this job, I highly advise you do it while the engine is out. And like these lines, even though they're brand new, you want to blow air through them, blow the stuff out. Like you can see something hanging off the end of that one there, just from me moving it around. So hopefully these fittings all fit good, and I'll get to putting those back in. And that was another thing with my lines, these ends here. Let's see if I can show you where they go into the transmission. They're not too bad, but you can see like where they're a little boogered up. Yeah, like a wrench, especially that one there. Because what happens is, even with me lowering the trans and stuff, I had to use a stubby 13mm wrench to get in there, because there's just so little room between this fitting, the way it's wrapped around the transmission, and between the fiberglass floor of the Corvette. There's just really no room there to get there. So I'm going to get to putting these back in, and all that good stuff. And unfortunately, I will not be able to check to see if these leak until I get the motor back in and up and running. That's a bad thing, but as long as I install them correctly, they shouldn't be a problem. I did have a problem with these leaking. I had to tighten them back up. So hopefully that goes well. Let me get back to putting these new stainless steel ones in. So back to work. right, this is where I'm at. I have the upper and lower line way down there connected to the radiator. They're just loose right now. I'm not going to tighten them up completely until I get those lines. Let me see if I can get the light better hooked up to those brass fittings. Hopefully you guys can see that. Those brass fittings that they screw into. And I'm having a heck of a time to get them lined up and get them started because the stainless steel line is so stiff and isn't as flexible as a steel line. So I'm just going to have to work on that more. I might unscrew the brass fittings from the case, screw them into the fittings on the line, and just so they're loose, and then try screwing them in that way. I also considered quick disconnects, but then I'd have to order them and wait for them to come if I can get quick disconnect adapters. I'll go into that more later in the video, but I'm going to get back to work on them and see what I can do. Okay, that's done. Like I said, I don't know if you can see down in there, but the biggest help in me getting those on there was me stopping and taking a coffee break. Yeah, I was having a lot of trouble. I took a coffee break, and I came back, and I literally had them on in 10 minutes after taking that coffee break. Yeah, I had to bend them around a little bit, the line around a little bit. And then I got those tightened up on the transmission. And then I got those tightened up there on the upper and lower on the radiator. And I even got the clip that holds it to the chassis. So I have to say I'm real happy I did that. Once again, I would not do this unless you're pulling the motor out, or at least the trans. Doing this with the motor in, I mean, you could do it, but you're going to be bending the hell out of those pre-bent lines. In that case, unless you absolutely need to replace those lines, you're better off just leaving the factories in. I mean, I didn't really need to replace mine. I just, I live up here in the Northeast in the Rust Belt, and this car has a lot of miles, and I do take this out in the winter, and for me, it was worth it to change those lines. And those lines really weren't, those transmission lines weren't too expensive. I think they're around $90. I'll try and leave a link down in the description box. 3 things that did help: 13mm flare wrench, a 13mm box wrench, regular length one, and this really helps is the short stubby 13mm. So those are good to have if you're going to be doing a job like this. Like where I put the lines on the transmission, this was totally useless, the flare wrench. You just don't have any room to get this wrench in here. You literally got to use this short stubby because of the space you have under there, even with the transmission lowered. If you plan on taking your transmission in and out a lot, like you do a lot of modifications and racing and stuff like that, I would pop for, they have those flexible quick disconnect hoses that you can put on there. I seriously thought about putting them on there, and I still might in the future, but for now, I think this is it. Hopefully, at the end of the week, I'll have this in. I am waiting on the polyurethane motor mounts. That'll be next video, and I will go over installing the polyurethane motor mounts and why I'm changing them and how it affects your handling on a C4 Corvette. So, check back and or subscribe or all that good stuff. In the meantime, everybody have a great day and God bless.